Dear friends, in our time we are facing many challenges and threats. One of the most terrible of them is the possibility of nuclear war. Although we live in an era of technological progress, we are also facing geopolitical conflicts and international tensions that can lead to catastrophic. In this video, we look at the reasons why we are in for a nuclear war and how we can prevent it from coming. Arms race. If many countries continue to build up their nuclear capabilities, this could lead to an arms race and increase the likelihood of nuclear conflict. One of the most interesting and impressive aspects of the arms race is how nations have used their nuclear capabilities to propagate and demonstrate their power. In the 1960s, when the USSR and the US were at the height of their arms race, they began testing their nuclear bombs outdoors. As a result, many people around the world have been able to see the power of nuclear explosions and learn about what nuclear weapons are in practice. Some countries have also used the nuclear race to strengthen their national pride and identity. For example, for France, the nuclear program has become an important part of the independence and equality strategy, which was aimed at strengthening France's position in the world community. Regional conflicts. Regional conflicts get out of hand and pose for a nuclear war. For example, the conflict between Russia and Ukraine. The conflict in eastern Ukraine began in 2014 after a revolution of dignity that led to a change of power in the country. In some regions of Donbass, there were protests against the new government, which was supported by Russia. In response, the Ukrainian authorities launched an operation to regain control over these territories. In 2022, the conflict escalated into an aggressive phase where Russia already poses a real threat to world security. Terrorist threats. The ability of terrorists to gain access to nuclear weapons or nuclear materials could lead to nuclear conflict, especially if such weapons fall into the hands of terrorist groups that do not adhere to the rules and laws. In 2014, ISIS members were found to have experience in the production of chemical weapons. This raised concerns that they might also start developing nuclear weapons. In their history, terrorist organizations have not used nuclear weapons for terrorist attacks. However, this does not mean that they will not continue their attempts to obtain nuclear weapons in the future. Cyber attacks. Modern technology can be used to carry out cyber attacks on nuclear systems, which can lead to the potential leakage of confidential information or even errors in the operation of control systems, which in turn can lead to a nuclear conflict. Cyber attacks on nuclear systems can be invisible. Cyber criminals can gain unauthorized access to nuclear systems and information without leaving any trace. This could result in them gaining confidential information about nuclear arsenals and their control capabilities, which could be used to create chaos or provoke conflict. Defense against cyber attacks on nuclear systems requires constant updating and a lot of technology, as cyber criminals are constantly looking for new attacks. Incredible scenarios. Although many of the nuclear war scenarios seem improbable, such as explosions in the sun or alien invasions, they should never be completely ruled out. Aliens and nuclear weapons are a very unlikely combination. To date, there is no evidence that aliens exist, much less that they possess the technology to travel to other galaxies. There is also no evidence that aliens have nuclear weapons. In theory, if aliens have nuclear weapons and appear on Earth, this could lead to interplanetary conflicts, including the use of nuclear weapons. However, as already mentioned, this scenario is very unlikely and more related to fantasy literature and cinema than reality. Social crisis. A social crisis such as a global pandemic, economic crisis, or famine can lead to instability and escalate conflict to the level of nuclear weapons. A social crisis is a state of society when deep contradictions and conflicts arise between different social groups. Such a crisis can be caused by various reasons, such as economic difficulties, political differences, national or religious conflicts, etc. The social crisis could be one of the factors that could lead to the use of nuclear weapons. For example, if a crisis results in the outbreak of war between states, then one of the parties may decide to use nuclear weapons in order to gain an advantage in the conflict. Also, the social crisis can contribute to the strengthening of radical ideologies, including those aimed at the use of nuclear weapons. For example, Terrorist groups or nationalist movements may take advantage of the crisis to promote the use of nuclear weapons to protect their interests. In general, a social crisis can increase the likelihood of using nuclear weapons, but the specific scenario depends on many factors and may be different in different situations. It's time to talk about the most important reason why a nuclear war most likely will not start. The most important reason why a nuclear war will not start is that it will lead to catastrophic consequences for all countries involved in the conflict. In the event of a nuclear war, many countries may be destroyed, the population will suffer from radioactive contamination, there will be a global nuclear winter effect that can lead to climate change and famine. Also, all countries with nuclear weapons are aware that in the event of a nuclear war, they themselves will become the target of nuclear attacks. This means that neither side will get a victory, since each side can destroy each other. In addition, most nuclear weapon countries have strict security and control protocols in place to prevent the unauthorized use of nuclear weapons. This includes special teams that constantly monitor nuclear weapons and prepare to prevent any attempt to use them by unauthorized persons. Some facts about nuclear weapons. Nuclear weapons are the most destructive weapons ever created by man. Even a small nuclear explosion can destroy an entire city. The first nuclear weapon was developed in the United States as part of the Manhattan Project in 1945. There are two main types of nuclear weapons based on the fission of nuclear fuel, atomic bomb, and nuclear weapons based on the fusion of nuclear fuels, hydrogen bomb. There is an agreement between the countries that have signed the Treaty on the Non-Proliferation of Nuclear Weapons, NPT, limiting the number of countries that have nuclear weapons. There are currently 9 countries that have nuclear weapons: the US, Russia, China, Britain, France, India, Pakistan, Israel, and North Korea. Nuclear weapons testing has led to serious consequences for the environment and human health. Many people around the world have suffered from radiation sickness caused by nuclear weapons testing. Nuclear weapons are one of the main threats to peace and security, so many countries are working together to reduce the number of nuclear weapons in the world and create a safer world. While nuclear weapons may have amazing technological advances, they carry dire consequences for all of humanity. Violence cannot appear to the world, and nuclear weapons will not disappear. We must continue to work together to ensure the safety of all people on the planet and strive for peace and friendship among all peoples. Let's remember that we all live under heaven and that our security affects one another's security. We will create a world free from the threat of nuclear war only if we work together and strive for peace and harmony.